warm welcome to Disky Talk with Liolo. If you're tuning in for the very first time, I do ask that you please subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you've been a part of this journey, I hope you thoroughly enjoy this episode. So, on today's episode, I discuss all things Dstv Premiership action as I have a post-match analysis of Kaizer Chiefs versus Amazulu, which ended 0-0 at the F&B Stadium. So, coming up then into this episode, the blue team will represent Kaizer Chiefs and then the red team will represent Amazulu. So, when you do have a look at it then, the last time out, we do know that these teams did play in the MTN 8, where Kaizer Chiefs played against Stellenbosch and they managed to progress to the semi-finals. And then with Amazulu, where they played against Cape Town City, and they also then advanced to the semi-finals. However, switch focus then to the Dstv Premiership. So when you do have a look at it then, Kaizer Chiefs did start with a 4-3-3, at times somewhat of a 4-2-3-1, but essentially then a three-man midfield. So when you have a look at it then, and you have a look at the personnel. In goals, they did start with the Dumile Nkune. As the left back, they did start with Hlanti, who we do know that has come back after a lengthy injury spell. So this is his second game in a row. And then as the left-sided centre-back, Zita Kwiniga. As the right-sided centre-back, Njabulo Ngcobo. And then as the right back, they did start with Solomons. And quite key to note then that Solomons did had that opportunity to put Kaizer Chiefs ahead early on within the first half, but then he missed a penalty. And I would say that was quite a poor penalty, especially considering then that when you do hit a penalty, it is then always one of the main things then with penalties, like to try get it on target, at least force the keeper to make a save. But when you miss the goals completely, then yeah, it is quite a poor penalty. But anyway, moving on then right along, within the heart of midfield, you had Yusuf Mart, you had Sitebe, and then you had Matlo. When you do have a look then at the front three, you had Sikhota, you had Biliat, and then you had Ashley Dupree. So when you have a look at Kaizer Chiefs with regards to what they were trying to do in possession of the ball. So within the first half, I think Kaizer Chiefs really struggled as they couldn't really grow into the game and impose themselves. I would say then that they had a better second half with regards to then how they were looking to progress the ball, how they were looking to go forward. But overall then they lacked quality as they just had nothing to show for it. But if you do have a look at the offensive scheme then, so what you would see then from Kaizer Chiefs is that you would see somewhat, let's just push them up. So what you would see then from Kaizer Chiefs, a lot of the times that you'd see somewhat of that offensive scheme, where then they went to a 3-3-4. At times, you'd have one of the midfielders looking to break in, which then makes it a 3-2-5. So whenever then ball side fullback had it, the far side fullback would be looking to tuck in to make it a 3. At times, you would see them sort of tucked in into midfield. So it would either be a 3-2-5 or a 2-3-5. And then same whenever then Solomons looked to have it then on the right-hand side. However, what's also key to note then with the front three that it was quite a fluid front three with regards to positional rotations, the movement and how dynamic they were, but they just couldn't create clear-cut chances consistently. And when they did get their chances then, they also then couldn't bury them, especially then when you consider Kama Biliat, because he did have that chance within the first half, but doesn't manage then to score. And then within the second half, there is a chance where he does pick up the ball just outside of the box, and he plays a very beautiful dinged pass. Matlo runs onto it, but he runs out with the ball, where then he wasn't able then to ensure that he finishes. With Sikhota, there were moments then where he looked good with regards to his speed and his creativity, but at times, I would say that he lacked quality with regards to his final ball. Overall, then, when you do have a look at this Kaizer Chiefs side, I do think that, they struggled in key areas, and they struggled then within the final third as they did lack that quality and couldn't then get that goal. Even then, like I did mention earlier on, with Solomons having quite a poor penalty, because at least the least you want then from a penalty taker is for him to at least put it on target. And then when you do then have a look at some of the subs that were made, so we did see Caleb coming on, you saw Nkosimpile Ngobo, you saw Keegan Dolly as well, but the subs then couldn't really make an impact. With regards to Kaizer Chiefs out of the ball, out of possession, and not having the ball, this is what they went to. They went to somewhat of a 4-3-3 mid-block, which at times and in certain spells made it a bit difficult for Amazulu to penetrate them. However, when you do move on then, right along, and you have a look at Amazulu, Amazulu came into this game then with a 4-3-3 as well. So in goals then, they started with Uveli Motwa as the right back. They did start with Tembelas Kakane. Right-sided centre-back, Gumede. Left-sided centre-back, they started with Mbara. As the left back, they started with Hanamoop. So what is key to note then that with Amazulu, a lot of the times they were looking then to use their fullbacks as the players would offer them width on the right-hand side and on the left-hand side. So within the right wide channel, Sikakane would mostly be looking to push up. And then within the left wide channel, you'd have Hanamoop looking then to offer the width. That is because then Amazulu do play with 3 strikers, which look to have that positional rotation with regards to their movement and their positioning as well. And then when you do move on then right along, and have a look at the heart of midfield. In midfield then, they had Mahaula, who I think then had a good performance within the heart of midfield. I think he was quite solid. And at times then, he was able to ensure that he could progress that ball for this Amazulu side. And a very key player then for this Amazulu side, and ensuring then that he also offered them that tactical and defensive stability within the heart of midfield and that awareness as well. When you do have a look at the 2 number 8s, you then had George Malega, and then you had Keegan Buchanan. When you do have a look then at the front 3, you had Nduli, you had Kwem, and then you had Mhango. But like I did mention then, with regards to this Amazulu side, is that the front 3 then are quite fluid with regards to their positioning and their rotations and their movement as well. But when you do have a look at this front 3, I would say that on the day, they were starved with regards to that creativity and those balls then being played in behind for them, because then they just couldn't get into that rhythm where then they would find opportunities in behind. We did see on the left-hand side where Mhango then and Kwem managed to fashion a chance. Kwem gets that ball within that pocket of space, and then he does take a shot, but it is blocked. Otherwise then, when you do have a look at it then, overall from an Amazulu perspective with regards to their offensive scheme, a lot of the times then, they look pretty much a 2-3-5 with having then that front 5 in then Sikakane, Nduli, Kwem, Hango, and then they'd have Hanamoop on the left-hand side. A lot of the times we did see that Keegan Buchanan at times would look to drop deep in between the 2 centre-backs, where then you'd look to take up that role of deep laying playmaker, where then you'd look then to spread those diagonal passes. However, when you do have a look then at Amazulu, I would say that they were much better within the first half, as they did look to have more control, and they did look then to keep the ball better. It's just that they were not effective with regards to how they kept that ball, and they couldn't create clear-cut chances. They also themselves struggled then to penetrate into the final third. With Amazulu, they also made changes. However, they just couldn't affect changes, and they just couldn't then get that impact coming from those changes which were made. I mean, you did see Majoro coming on, you did see Zuma as well coming on, and you did see Kunene coming on the left-hand side as well, but they just couldn't affect change, and they just couldn't make an impact for this Amazulu side. So when you do look at it then, overall, it is a game then that lacked quality within the final third, a game that also lacked creativity with regards to how then both teams then were looking to fashion chances for their forward-line players, and the game then where I would say that to a certain degree, both teams cancelled each other out with regards to them both going then with 4-3-3, essentially having 3 men within the heart of midfield and just not being able then to affect the game. So, ladies and gentlemen, it does end 0-0 at the FNB Stadium then, where it is a point apiece. Thank you very much for tuning in to yet another special episode of Diski Talk with Luyolo. Signing out.